Hi, welcome to the fourth episode of Four Idiots and a Mic with Shocker Quidditch. Today we are gonna start this podcast off talking about weird conversations we've walked in on, and then after that we'll go like usual and we'll just do our weird off on tangents. So, who wants to start out with the weirdest conversation they've ever heard or walked in on?
I mean, I overheard one in the Heskett Center, which for our listeners is the campus exercise center. A couple of weeks ago, I was upstairs and I went to go get a drink of water at the water fountain, and I saw a guy talking to someone I assume was his friend on speakerphone, and the guy on speakerphone starts out the conversation with, "It just broke in my ass," and then the other guy responds with, "What broke?" And then that's all I heard. Never found out what broke in the ass, but yeah.
They're probably a good thing.
I mean, you would think, but like on one hand, I don't want to know what he's shoving in his ass.
But you really
on the
want
other
to
hand,
know.
I really want to know.
I may have a similar story. I don't exactly know. So this one happened in the dining hall, my freshman year. So about like 4 or 3 years ago. What ended up happening was I was just walking by a table, just randomly people's conversations were a little bit loud, so I got a little bit ear of it. There were 3 dudes at a table. 2 of them were laughing. The one in the middle was kind of looking mad, and all I heard him say was, "Shut the F up, guys, it was dark." That's
Dude, I think I kind of want to know.
That's all I heard.
I wonder what happened. Let's see. Most awkward conversation is probably ones that I've been like a part of before, because like me and my friends can get really interesting conversations sometimes. Me and the friends that I had were so it started off first like over Snapchat. So we were chatting, and we get talking about
what happens on Snapchat.
Interesting stuff, i.e. our favorite sex positions and just stuff like that, weird kinks. I don't know how like that happened. So
This just got awkward.
yeah, and I think that y'all actually remember, because like I literally told you all about the conversation we were that happened like the night before, the day after in the dining hall, and there were people around us in tables, and I'm pretty sure I was talking loud enough for them to hear me say that. So there are people who frequent the dining hall who have very, very interesting opinions of me at the moment.
Okay, David.
Well, I can't really think of any weird ones I've walked in on the top of my head. Same with Rupert. I've been involved in some.
No, but just try not to focus too much on you. Focus on more just you were walking by, or you just kind of like heard like 1 or 2 sentences. And you're just like, what in the hell were they talking about?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm trying to piece together. The only ones I can honestly think of are just weird conversations I've had with people. Like, there was one that this girl proceeded to tell a guy in the conversation that she would have fun making babies with him. That was weird. There was another one, and another guy who tried to recruit me to a interesting cult. That was a weird one.
Remember, you have more fun as a follower in cults, but you make more money as a leader. Wisdom from Creed Bratton.
Or flash the office.
But see, I don't want to be part of a cult, though. Especially this one was also linked to sex trafficking in Central County, Kansas. So, yeah. Honestly, I can't really think of any off the top of my head at the moment.
Okay, well then let's switch topics.
The only thing I can think of is the squirrels having sex on the hood of my car.
No, that's not a conversation. It's just an act of nature that those 2 poor squirrels just happened to fall on a car.
No. There was a couple. There was a couple of squirrels doing it on the hood of my car. And as I'm watching, there's this brown glob that falls out of the tree and lands on my hood, and it's another pair of squirrels going at it.
Okay,
There's like a
I'm gonna say
squirrel thing going on.
No matter how many times you tell people about the squirrel sex story. It will be funny for like a little bit. Sometimes people just aren't interested in hearing about, squirrel sex romps. Anyway.
Wait a minute. There actually is one more that I have.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I can tell you awkward. So Davey and I last semester, we had a recruiting event, listeners, that didn't really go so well. And so we recruited about 30 people, but Hunter sent out the group email to these people, and the university server decided not to send it out because there was about 10 fake emails because we were giving away a free t-shirt and people just wanted the shirt. So I asked Hunter one day, hey, when I'm going to come into the cafeteria at this time and you're leaving at this time, so can you pass me the list of emails? And Davey and I will go through them. So for the next 2 hours, we're sitting in the cafeteria going through, and I'm like, did you check to make sure this email was real? Did you check to see if this person was real? And everybody around us is just looking at us like, you guys are stalking people. It was weird. And now sometimes when I go into the cafeteria and sit down, people just kind of look at me like, are you going to stalk me over the university server or what?
I want to reassure listeners that Damon and I are not stalkers, nor have we ever engaged in stalking people. We only stalk for Quidditch.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Okay, I agree. I did look a couple of my ex-girlfriends, even though they weren't really girlfriends. They were just love interests in high school up on Facebook the other day. But
What?
just to see what they were doing.
Okay, no, we're changing the topic now.
Yeah.
It's getting weird this time.
Okay, so now instead
People
of
we stalk.
just no, because that should be nobody. So now instead of weird conversations you walk on, just about weird or interesting. Doesn't have to be necessarily weird. Just somebody interesting that you've seen on campus, and it can be more than a few people. To start out, before yesterday's podcast, in the library.
Last week's podcast.
Yeah, before last episode, me and Davey were in there's a lobby area outside of our library, and I was out there because I had food to eat. You can't bring food in the library. Well, as me and Davey are talking, this one guy walks in, and he's cooing like a pigeon or something, and we just kind of stop and we're like, what the heck? And the moment he opens the door to the library, where you're supposed to be quiet, he stops. But it's just from the 25 or so feet it was from the doors of the main lobby to the doors of the actual library. He was just cooing like a pigeon or something, or making
weird.
random bird noises.
An interesting conversation. Okay, so I was at a Comic-Con a couple weeks ago.
No, not an interesting conversation. Just interesting or weird people.
Oh, okay. So, well, it has to do with the same thing. So the other so at this Comic-Con, we're standing in line. My mom and I are standing in line to see. I think it was Ginny Weasley. Bonnie Wright, who plays Ginny Weasley, was at this Comic-Con, and we're standing in line, and in front of us is this guy in high heels and fishnet stockings and a corset. And he's telling all of us how he had to get his legs waxed and how he got his chest waxed. It was the most weird, interesting person I think I've met in a while. Other than the guy on campus who has a rain jacket for his backpack.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Okay.
I know him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I actually know the guy who has the rain jacket for his backpack.
But I actually kind of think that's a little bit cool, but at the same time kind of weird. But
if you knew the dude,
I've run into him. I've talked to him a couple
Damon,
times.
he's in my major. He's been in my classes.
So how is he?
No,
No, that bad?
no, that dude is kind of the epitome of social awkwardness.
I mean, you
No, all
can't
of us
tell.
are gifted with social ability.
I know, Damon, but this is. I'm just trying to describe it. I'm not trying to be mean or anything. It's just
Give an example.
no.
No.
There's just too many. Okay, so you know how some people have they're don't be afraid to ask questions in college. It's oh, there's truly no stupid answers, and then the whole TV sitcom of someone asks a stupid question, the teacher's just except for that one, that whole sitcom thing.
Oh, kind of like
That's
that.
actually freaking happened though, in the class.
Ooh.
And it's not been a question if it's an engineering class, it's not related to engineering. It's just like
The social question?
no. Like what I'm meaning is, I'm trying to think of stuff, but I remember this one time in dynamics or something. He was asking just so many questions because I don't know what it was, but we were learning something that was like relatively simple.
He was overthinking it.
No, I don't know, Damon. Like, I legitimately do not know because the questions that he was asking were just really that, like, I'll try to think of an example, but, like, the teacher at one point had to tell him, if you have any more questions, see me after class. Because that class, I believe, was, like, only 15 minutes long or something. Like, it met 3 times a week or something.
Openness.
Or something. And his question asking was legitimately putting us behind schedule. Because what would happen is, he'd ask one question, and then 2 more questions would come from that, and then 4 more questions. Like, it was just like a hydra of questions. Like, once one was solved, he had like doubly more.
Cut off on head 2 more shot tickets, please.
You know, it's. I'm just trying to explain. Like,
so in this case, was the professor Captain America?
no, Damon. I'm just trying to because.
Spoilers?
No.
No.
I mean, the dude's nice enough and everything, but.
I think that raises to an interesting new topic question, though. What is the stupidest question you've ever heard?
Oh, I got this one. So here's one of the questions. So at that same Comic Con, after we get in line and I'm over the weird. Okay, if the listeners didn't hear that, we're actually supposed to get severe thunderstorms this afternoon.
Yep.
At that same Comic Con, after I had just recovered from hearing how a guy waxed his legs and chest to fit into this corset thing. So there's about like 3,000 people sitting into this room wanting to hear Bonnie Wright and the 2 Weasley twins to speak. And they open it up for questions, and this girl runs up. And the first thing she asks is water wet?
No, Damon.
That was stupid.
No. Damon, I will say it's not. I don't think you're reading the message.
Yeah.
I don't think she was asking it as because she was stupid. If you don't know, Damon, there's like an ongoing debate over the internet about whether or not water is wet. Because
It's a liquid, so therefore it is.
No. Because believe it or not, both sides actually have a convincing argument. One says that water itself is not wet because, it is just a liquid. However, like basically they're saying that, wetness defines as, okay, this object is dry, but if you throw water on it, it's wet. It's not the water that makes it wet, it's the fact that, it was...
It absorbs liquid.
It's not the fact that, the water is wet that makes it wet. It's the fact that, something is on it that makes it, wet. But then other people are saying, the water has to be wet because, it's a proper... Like, it's a really interesting, debate. But I don't think that person was, just asking, like, the stupid question of, is water wet? It's because...
I think it was just because I thought it was kind of odd.
Okay, it's like the whole thing, too, of... For example, Damon, if a fish is underwater...
Is the fish wet?
Yeah, is the fish wet?
It is.
Okay, but what makes it wet?
It's immersed in water.
I'm a history major. I'm not a science major.
Because here's what people say. If a fish is underwater, when you take it out of the water, it is exposed to the air, and therefore you can feel it being wet. However, if it's submerged in water, the only thing around it's water. So if you touch the fish, the only interference you're getting is water, so is it actually truly wet? It's like the whole thing of saying...
I came up with the most stupid question.
It's like saying, like, is, like, air dry or something? Like, it's... Like, yes, it should be a simple, no-brainer question. But then people just bring up these 2 facts, and people are like, now, wait a minute. Long story short, I honestly think that person wasn't asking a stupid question. They were just stating a meme that was popular that you just didn't know was a meme at the time.
That's why I said looking back on it, I don't think I thought it was stupid. I just thought it was weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Dave, stupid question you ever heard?
Stupidest question I've ever heard. We had the job pipeline day. Hunter, I don't know if you remember the campus career pipeline in like 6th grade. You had to fill out that survey that said like what jobs you should go into.
Oh yeah.
So we were doing that, and they're talking about, going to college and stuff and things like that. And one kid raised his hand and he asked, "Do you have to be in college to play college football?"
Oh,
What?
it's in the name.
Yes, do you have to be in college to play college football?
All I'm saying is if that rule did not apply, oh boy.
Ooh.
Well, there's actually a big push now to pay college athletes.
What does it do?
I have a thought on that, but that's
That's for a different time.
Yeah.
Yes.
you know what, that can be next week's.
Yeah.
That could be next week's podcast.
Okay,
Next
I gotta redo a question. So this is my second semester here, and I'm taking American history classes.
Don't you mean
Second
you-
semester. This was my second semester of freshman year.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying this this semester, and I was like,
No,
damn it.
but I'm sitting next to one of the WSU men's basketball players. I'm not going to give out his name. And the professor, the second day of class, first day, of course, is your typical, "Hi, my name is Dr. So-and-so, and this is my class," and whatever. She's talking about Reconstruction. She's talked about it for an hour and 10 minutes. There's 5 minutes left in class. She goes, "Okay, I'm going to end my lecture here, and we're going to talk about the aftermath of Reconstruction, whatever. Does anybody have any questions?" The room gets quiet, and as she's about to say, "Okay, class dismissed," he raises his hand, and I look over at him and everything, and I go, "I ask her," and he goes, "What's Reconstruction?" We literally had been talking about that for over an hour and 15 minutes, and he didn't understand what it was.
Oh, I thought about a stupid question I've heard. Surprisingly, even though that one guy was mentioning with like the raincoat for a backpack thing on camp, okay. Even though I've mentioned like he's asked like a bunch of stupid questions and stuff.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I can't remember any of them just because I don't know why. But you have to trust me, like that guy. It's just sometimes it's just like if a teacher's going through like a derivation for like an equation or something, he would interrupt halfway through the derivation, say he doesn't get the derivation and where he's getting this. And sometimes it's the teacher's just like, "I haven't covered that far yet. Like that's why you don't see it up there. I haven't gotten to that part yet." Anyway, so a stupid question that I heard. It was actually funny enough in one of my senior classes. So my teacher was talking about like the I essentially forgot what the importance of stuff was, but it was about how like this test pilot or something had died in a crash. Basically, it was a fatal crash. Okay, basically said fatal crash killed the pilot. Someone in my class, a senior in engineering, then asked, "Did he die?"
Wow, they just said the crash was deadly.
No, he said he was killed in the crash, and then he asked, "Did he die?"
Did he die?
But did he?
No, he was just killed to death.
He was killed to death.
Okay. Rupert, any stupid questions you've heard?
See, I don't have any specifics, but like back in high school, like there'll be people now and then who I'm not sure they're just acting stupid, but they would ask like questions that I don't know why, like you have to have amnesia and forget like like your entire high school classes in order to ask these questions, and yet here we are having to listen to them ask this question that is pretty, like, at least for me, like it could have been me, it was like right in front of them basically. And I mean, I don't know, I guess school like isn't like it's not everyone's like thing, but our school system needs to be worked on.
That's also a topic for another podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm kind of, just interested in the next week's discussion over, that Damon brought up of whether or not, college athletes should get paid or not.
We could do that, honestly, for the rest of this podcast.
I mean, we could, but I'd rather do it for next time because I think...
Yeah.
It's going to be a longer conversation.
Yeah, it's going to be a longer conversation. What's that, Damon?
DarwinAwards.com. We could talk about DarwinAwards.com.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
My history teacher
I do actually know
opens
funny
up
Star
his
Wars.
class
I think
period.
it's going to be a really interesting topic, just because there's a lot of think so. I don't know. Listeners gonna have fun with that. Episode 5.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yes.
stupid Darwin awards that Damon was mentioning. I do remember one Darwin award.
I remember a couple.
Yeah, I remember one Darwin award in particular. It was something along the lines of someone had gotten like shot fatally or something in the head or something, and at one point I think the defense attorney or something got up with a gun to his head and was going to like solidarily prove that like you can't be killed by that. Shot himself in the head and he died.
Well,
The one I'm thinking of was in Maine a couple years ago. So there's this guy. He gets a box of firecrackers for the 4th of July, like literally like black cat firecrackers, and he goes, if I put this on my head, what is this gonna do? So he lights it on his head, and it blows his head to smithereens, and he dies. His family then sues the fireworks company for damages and emotional trauma or something. And now that's why if you look at labels, it says "Do not place on head," because he literally sued.
Okay. Did they actually win that lawsuit though, or something?
No.
Okay, good, because
Because the court ruled that the guy was idiotic enough to put it on his head, so therefore they didn't need to award damages.
okay, I mean, like, yeah, it said that a family member dies, but at some point, like yes, you can sue a company for something, but at one point, like, stuff is just common sense. Like,
The guy who sued McDonald's because he got one napkin.
I mean, yes, because
I watched the video,
I need
top
the
10
money.
weirdest lawsuits of all time, and this was like number 5 or something. And literally, the judge said, "I am not hearing this case because it is so ludicrous."
Oh yeah, another thing people don't know, if a judge legitimately does just like, it's just interesting because judges, when they actually review the cases, before it even goes to court, for example, the judge will be basically, I think, given a briefing or something, and then at that moment the judge can even determine if it goes to court or not. Like for example, if like a judge was like reading a case and it was like, oh, so and so is so and so is suing McDonald's for one napkin, and he reads it basically and he's like, so this dude is literally suing McDonald's because they gave him one napkin and he just didn't want to go up and ask for more napkins. Yeah, this is getting thrown out of court.
Or the guy in Oregon who sued Michael Jordan for looking like him.
Did he win?
No, the Oregon court didn't even hear it.
Did he look like Michael Jordan?
He does, but he honestly has more facial hair than Michael Jordan, so it was like, really?
Well, I mean, Michael Jordan at one point was also saluting the mustache under the nose.
I want to grow the Ambrose Burnside beard. And listeners, if you don't know who Ambrose Burnside is, he's a Civil War general. Go online and look up Ambrose Burnside portrait. And I want to grow a beard like that. But yet my mother hates facial hair, and so...
Can you grow facial hair, Daniel?
Yes, I can. However, it's blonde, so you can't see it.
If you have facial hair but you can't see it, does it really exist?
Yes.
So that's kind of like, does Bigfoot exist, even though we apparently have supposed proof of him? Even though he's been now seen in all 50 states.
Oh my gosh. Don't get me started on Bigfoots. I've heard far too
Oh,
much about
wait,
Bigfoots.
Some Italian scientist thinks he's found the Yeti now.
Wait. Is the plural of Bigfoot Bigfoots or Big Feet?
Big feet.
Okay, so I had a guy in high school who that I went to high school with that was convinced that the plural of moose was moosin.
Moosin.
Oh my!
And so he would walk around school and be like, "Hey guys, we were just like a herd of moosin."
I actually, he may have learned that from a freaking comedian, because I know at one point, I forgot what the comedian's name is, but he's making fun of basically like the plural words in English.
I forgot what his name.
I don't know what his name is, so you can't ask me is it so and so, because I don't know his name, Damon. But the whole point was he's making fun of like basically like he was in school or something, and the teacher was having him like say stuff, and he was like, if you have 3 boxes of like if you have 3, no, it was like, what is the plural of box? Like
Boxing.
you have many box of like, and he goes, oh, I have like 3 boxen of donuts, and she was like, no, and she had like smart, and he goes, boxes. And then she was like, okay, now what's the plural form of ox? And then people were like, oxes. No, it's oxen.
And Davey, it's kind of like the girl. This kind of ranks up there with kind of like the girl that thought everything that was new in front of it was a new country.
Oh yes, we had an hour-long discussion with someone sometime, and I had to try to explain why just because the word "new" is in front of a geographical place, for example, New Hampshire, New Mexico, New York,
What
that
about
it
New
was
England?
New England,
New Jersey.
New Jersey, that it was not its own country. And I don't even want to get into New England because I had to explain how new didn't make it a country. So having to explain New England that is technically not a state, but it's a region, but it's not a country.
She also thought Idaho wasn't like next to like
Oregon.
Well,
Or no, not Oregon. Virginia.
It is next to
Virginia, yes.
Virginia.
Okay, I was gonna say like
Idaho is next to Oregon.
I was gonna say like
Virginia. That
Oh, they're like, oh,
she
second.
thought that it was Idaho and Virginia that were next to each other. They're not.
It's kind of like
My
my
gosh, Rupert.
So I went. So this kind of goes along with this. I went to a high school that was 99.8% white. The 0.2% consisted of my sister, who's from Vietnam, and 3 other Asian students. So
oddly specific.
Very, very specific.
And we were all happy with it. Well, anyway, my sister.
Whoa.
So
we're diverse.
My sister one day comes into class, and there's a new kid who's been homeschooled, and ironically she's now dating him. He goes, so Lenise, are you like Chinese? And this one kid pipes up and goes, no, you fool, she's Japanese. And the other kid pops up and goes, no, she's Korean. And my sister goes, I'm actually from Vietnam, you fools.
No, that's just.
And it was like, really?
I mean, at least they can name China, Korea, and Japan.
Well, also these kids have not been outside of the state of Kansas, I don't think, in like 3 years or so. She also had a classmate who had never been beyond the state of Kansas.
Huh.
Yeah,
The farthest she had ever traveled was Caldwell, Kansas.
Oh boy.
Whoa.
Oh.
And then she made it to the regional spelling bee.
Was that in Caldwell, Kansas?
No, it was in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, nice.
But wait, she didn't go, did she?
She did go.
Because it's beyond but it's beyond.
But she lost in the preliminary rounds.
So she has been out of the state of Kansas.
Yes. The same spelling bee that I tried out for, and I lost because I couldn't spell quench.
Quench.
Like I quenched my thirst.
Yeah.
Quench.
Bingo.
Oh, see, I spelled it like that, but they said it was wrong. They wanted some other spelling, and then they came back a week later and they were like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you spelled the word right. We misruled."
I mean, that's like Dan Quayle telling the elementary school kids, "Hey, you misspelled potato," after the kid actually spelled it right. And he's like, "You missed the E on the end of potato."
Hey,
there was no.
Dan Quayle's also been known to say a lot of more like asinine stuff too.
Next week's episode, Dan Quayle quotes.
No.
Okay.
No. Next week's episode is talking about whether we should pay college athletes with actual intelligence, unlike Dan Quayle.
Okay, Davey. We got
did you know that you can actually get college credit if you play a sport?
For what?
So if you play, okay, for instance, if I played for like KU basketball, I could take that as a college class. We were talking about this at work the other day, and I didn't realize this till last semester when I'm signing up for my classes, and I was looking through the 1 hour credit classes, and I was looking under sports classes, and what pops up is varsity sports, and so it was like basketball 3 credit hours, women's softball for like 3 hours, and it was like, these are actual sports we offer, and the guy was like, yeah, you have to be an athlete to take those classes.
Sign up for them anyway.
Well, if we're Lori Laughlin, we just Photoshop our kid into pictures, and it can pay off coaches to say that my kid's on the golf team when in actuality she's never seen a golf club. in her life.
No. I just like the jokes and stuff that have been coming from that whole incident. Okay, anyway, yeah, there's like for example here, we actually have like a bowling class and like a.
I have a friend
class.
who's on the bowling team.
No, not the bowling team class. There's like an actual class that goes over bowling.
Well, that's.
And one that goes over pool, I believe, because I
was going to sign up for the pool class.
Wait, did a pool class?
There's pool class.
Yeah, it's put on by the business department.
Yeah, no, it's a 1 credit hour class, and it meets in the basement of the RSC, where all in the student center for on campus, where all the pool tables and stuff are.
So how do they grade you? How many games you win at 8 ball?
No, I'm guessing it's solely probably participation, and then maybe like they quiz you / test you over like the rules.
Well, you could be like our buddy Sam Slaughter at Maryville Quidditch. He's teaching a JUCO class with his roommate this summer on it's called Introduction to Quidditch at a local community college up in St. Louis. And I was like, man,
We need to look into that.
no, I'm seriously gonna consider that in the summer.
Yeah. Anyway,
Look and see if a butt coat.
yeah, because I remember when. Because me and Davey actually were from the same town, so we were from the same school district back, in high school before that. Did your middle school ever do the whole bowling scoring thing?
Which bowling scoring thing?
Okay, so what I mean is, there was like legitimately like a month or like maybe not a month, but there was like 2 weeks in like gym class in middle school or something where we would bowl, and they actually taught us, how to actually properly keep track of the score.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Because I remember
we played wiffle ball.
We played wiffle ball too, but what I'm saying is we spent like 2 weeks bowling and going over the score, and I remember it was like it was like oh, if you get a spare, it's 10 plus the next frame, but if it's a strike, it's 10 plus the next two frames, and like the highest score you can get is 300, and
except if you do 100 pin bowling on the Wii, and then it's like 3,000.
okay.
Oh my gosh.
100 pin bowling on the Wii is.
Hey, don't diss that because that's the only way I'm athletic.
Dude, do you know the cheat code? If you go all the way to the right and you hold the ball up, if you roll it down on the railing, it'll hit a switch, knock all the pins down.
You just not told me this? Because my sister was like, she's like the queen of our, she's got like 2,700 points for her high score. And she's like, oh, you just have to like, just bowl it a certain way. Like you have to turn your hand just right. And I try it. Yeah, and I can't do it.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Wii bowling.
What were you saying?
Oh yeah, no, the kind of way lawn darts was on the Wii. Like all you need to do is just like
it's a game.
Yeah, like people think like at least the people I was playing with thought that it was super hard. But no, all I gotta do is just to figure out how to like throw the dart, and it's like perfect every single time.
It's kind of like I had a coworker the other day. He comes to work. I come to work, and he goes, "Sit down here by my desk," and I go, "Okay." And so we're talking. He goes, "Can you explain something to me?" I go, "Sure." He starts spouting off all this Fortnite stuff, and I'm like,
"Oh boy!"
I'm like, "Buddy, I've never played Fortnite," and he goes, "Okay," because the other night I was drunk, and so I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna get on and play Fortnite." He started playing Fortnite with these two 8-year-olds, and he said they were talking so far over my head that I couldn't pick it up. And he goes, "Granted, I was drunk."
Fortnite, no.
And so now I'm the joke of the office because I'm the only one that doesn't play Fortnite.
Really?
Good.
Yes.
Good.
And they ask me why. They're like, and I'm like, because I don't have the time.
Peer pressure is bad. Don't give in to the peer pressure.
Yeah.
No. There's positive peer pressure.
There is positive peer pressure.
But negative peer pressure.
You're trying to get people to play Fortnite.
Yes. Yes, there is positive peer pressure.
Okay, so but really, how's a game that's basically titled 2 weeks popular?
Okay. Well, made it popular. Okay, so to understand Fortnite, you gotta go. Okay, so the first game that kind of kicked stuff off was PlayerUnknown Battleground, or PUBG for short. PUBG.
Isn't that still around?
Yes, it's still around. Okay, what happened was they took so many people on a server, dumped them on a random map with guns and weapons and stuff, and they said, "Okay, you have gear. Every so often, at a time interval, a circle will enclose on the island. If you are outside of that circle, you will start to take damage."
That's pretty much every.
And essentially, what it is you hunt down other people on the server, you kill them, while at the same time trying to stay within the circle. And the whole thing was the person who is the last person in the circle and also the last person alive wins the match. Okay? Then from that popularity, another game called Fortnite was made. It was kind of more, like cartoonish than like the actual, because PUBG's, I believe, was originally made like using like it actually looks like a normal video game, like player models and stuff. I mean, it still kind of looks like fake, like a game, but it looks more like an actual game. Fortnite kind of looks like more cartoony and stuff. Fortnite basically did the same thing where it was, okay, you drop in a map. Zone closes. You try to kill everybody on the. You basically try to kill everybody on the map and be the last one standing. Okay, these games are known as battle royale games. The reason why Fortnite has taken off is because number one, I believe it is free to play.
Yeah.
Yes.
But PUBG is not. But also too, Fortnite was also able to successfully market itself to the younger audience. Like for example, the preteens, the middle schoolers, the
The 8-year-olds that are insanely good, apparently.
Okay, because what happens is now there's like a whole bunch of dances with Fortnite and all this other stuff, and it's just
Do not ask me to floss. It looks like I'm like having a spasm.
Damn, flossing is healthy. You need to do it.
yeah, your dentist recommends it.
That's the only time I actually floss is when the dental hygienist does it.
9 out of 10 dentists recommend flossing. The 10th dentist is actually a hobo on the side of the street. You know.
Well, 4 out of 4 doctors tell you to breathe. 5 out of 4 people can't do their fractions.
Okay.
It's true.
Technically, 5 out of 4 is a fraction. It's just an improper.
Yeah, it's an improper fraction. It's actually 1 and 1/4. But yeah.
Yes. That's a mixed fraction.
I'm a history major. I just study dead people. I don't study math. Even though I'm the club treasurer, so as well as the president, so technically I should be doing math.
You really need to, yeah, because you're treasurer.
Are you now just saying that our club treasurer does not know how to do math?
No, I do know how to do math. It's just that it's just that I don't want to make a career out of it like Hunter. I always applaud people like that though, because they can do something I can't do.
Well, me.
I will say this with engineering. It is surprising how often you actually use like simple mathematics.
Oh, sorry, Rupert. I forgot to say I also applaud you because you want to do the same thing.
Oh, thanks.
No, we're not doing the same thing.
Well, you're doing engineering. That's close.
Yes, we're doing engineering.
You're aeronautical. He's mechanical.
I'm aerospace. Thank you. There is a difference.
Okay, what's the difference?
Oh, okay.
Does aerospace also include space travel?
Yes.
Hence the space.
Actually, to be fair, I believe it actually is the same thing, but technically ours is called aerospace.
Oh.
Because guess what? I actually take a class called Space Dynamics.
I would actually sign up for that, even though it involves too much math.
I will. Damon.
Okay, you're talking to the guy that literally his high school algebra teacher says, I would recommend you take algebra from me because I don't think you can handle a college algebra class. So I took college algebra from him and I got a B- because I tanked the final.
Okay. Anyway. I mean, Damon, if you want to take... Okay, I will say...
I'd rather take a 700 level history course than a math course. I'm sorry.
I know, but I'm just saying it's kind of, just scary how sometimes just how simple the math can be in like actual engineering stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Did you accidentally summon me?
Yes.
No, I didn't, Siri.
Well, that's scary.
That's like the other
summon
day.
me?
That's like the other day. So my grandma has her beautician's license, and so she cuts all of our family's hair. And one time she's cutting my dad's hair, and she says something about how one of her friends didn't look great in a dress or something. I forgot what it was. And Dad goes, so was she fat or something? And immediately her watch goes, that's not nice.
Yeah, no, just another proof of, how our smartwatches are actually always listening.
Yep.
That's creepy.
Always watching Wazowski.
No, I'm just like saying like there's just like a lot of weird stories like on the internet of people just being like, yeah, there's no way that Siri.
Kind of like that story that came out last year. Kind of like that story that came out last year about the couple that ordered, what was it, like furniture or something, and they didn't actually order it, but Alexa had overheard.
Oh, I heard a story about this lady that had 30 rolls of toilet paper ordered for her because she was listening to a sermon online and the pastor started talking about toilet paper. And he was talking about like how easy it is to do things. So he's like, Alexa, buy toilet paper. And Alexa heard it. And so Alexa, for whatever reason, ordered 30 rolls of toilet paper.
I could do that.
30 rolls.
When Carlos Stanton signed his extension with the Miami Marlins a few years back, ESPN showed what you could do with all the money. And he had enough money, he could buy 26 rolls of solid gold toilet paper. and one of the announcers was like, "Why would you do this?"
1-ply or 2-ply?
They didn't specify. They just said.
I'm gonna guess why.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not worth
But
it.
also, why
Yeah.
would you want to wipe your butt with 24?
No,
Because
I'm
you
just
can.
I'm just more worried about the fact that not only does a product like golden toilet paper exist, there's actually a monetary value, and people are like, just some fun facts about this sports player's salary. He can buy 26 rolls of solid gold toilet paper. And you're like, why would I get why would you not put that in cars? Like, how many
Be
average
like
day
Floyd
Joe?
Mayweather and
Like,
own
how many?
5 of the rarest cars in the world or something.
I know, but just how many of the rare everyday Joe schmucks do you know just go up and they're like, darling, let's go to the Walmart and pick up some solid gold toilet paper.
Because you're like me and you just buy stuff.
Like, why couldn't they just put it in this money could buy
It's kinda like
3,000 Honda Fords?
Yeah.
Sorry, not Honda Ford.
Honda
Yes,
Fords.
Honda Fords,
Honda
yes.
Fords.
Honda Accord.
Honda Accords.
Yeah,
Or
Honda-
Civics.
You know
Yeah,
what
Honda
Ford
Civics,
stands
Honda
for,
Ford.
right?
Oh.
Found on road dead.
Yep. Or fix or repair daily.
Okay.
I'm honestly a Lexus person, even though I hate Toyota, but Lexus
Yeah.
is owned by Toyota.
I don't, it's just
Chevy.
it's just kind of weird because it's just like, why would you just put it in with that money he could buy this many college tuitions, he could cover he could buy.
Some athletes go in and buy people's.
I know, but he could buy this many Big Macs from McDonald's. Why would you just not put I'm gonna say this: if I saw 26 rolls,
I've only had one Big Mac in my life.
I know, but I'm just saying I think I'd be more impressed if they were with that salary, with his 25 million salary, he can buy so many Big Macs. Look, and I'd just be like, wow, that's a large number.
When I was 7 years old, I had an epiphany. When my grandparents announced they were going to take us to Disney World, my mom takes me to the local Mickey D's and goes, "Okay, honey, you can only buy off the dollar menu because we're saving money for Disney World." Ever since then, I've only eaten off the dollar menu.
Okay. Well,
So I've only had one Big Mac in my life.
How was it?
Yeah, how was it?
Yeah, I've had better, but it was good.
Okay.
So with that ends our latest episode of 4 Idiots and a Mic with Shocker Quidditch. I'm Damon.
I'm Davey.
I'm Hunter.
I'm Rupert.
And we are Shocker Quidditch. Again, if you enjoy this podcast, listen to our other episodes on this channel. And if you want to see highlights of us playing Quidditch, go on to Shocker Quidditch, our club YouTube channel, or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Wichita State Quidditch for Instagram and Facebook, and for Twitter we have at WSU Quidditch. So thanks and have a great day. Go Shocks.